What's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3Stacks in this thing, and I'm actually going over an updated variant of my Ritual Beast build. A lot of people had said, man, you need to rebuild this because Zodiacs are banned. I was originally running Ritual Zodiac Beast. I was living the dream. It's really sad. I actually had went over this variant where I was gonna still run the Zodiacs, and it actually was pretty interesting. But I wanted to actually just stick to the purest form, a Ritual Beast in their purest form. It enables you to do a lot. Now, of course, when Zodiacs were at full power, it actually provided for crazy combos. But with that out the way, we can actually do some pretty nutty combos with the Ritual Beast herself. I do love the artwork and the story behind this deck. I spoke of the entire story in my other deck profile. I'm not going to do it in this one. I just recommend that you check out my New Age Ritual Zodiac Beast deck profile on my channel, and you will learn the story behind basically from Hidden Arsenal and Dual Terminal up until the True Dracos and the True Kings. It's like everything leads from one to another. But without further ado, I'm gonna hop right into my main deck. So it's pretty spicy. There are certain things that have to be standard because it's a proper way that you have to do it. Like you have to run 3 elders. Elder is like the most standard monster. You have to play him at 3. He's really good. A lot of people kind of like had questions on the ruling on whether or not he can give you an additional normal summon of only a Tamer or a Spiritual Beast. The answer to that question is he can summon any of them, which is pretty cool. And it's not actually an activation, so you can't strike his effect. It's a continuous lingering condition that is met upon his normal summon. So if his normal summon is successful, you can actually provide yourself with an additional normal summon for whatever you want, which would basically become an instant contact fusion. And if you open up with the right cards, you'll have an ulti Kanahawk play, which is pretty cool. There are a lot of combos you can do with this deck. Outside of the ulti Kanahawk, there's not very much, but a vast majority of the combos are actually revolving around Kanahawk, and it's just really cool what you can do with this deck. This is a very skillful deck in my opinion. It's just something that I'll say like this, like if you don't like deck that make you think a lot, you probably don't want to play this deck. You probably want to stick to ABCs. But if you want a mental challenge, this is a deck for you because it's just like something that you really have to figure out. I love it a lot too. We're playing 2 copies of Win. Win was a card that I really wanted to bump up to 3 because mid to late game, she's the best normal summon you can have. She's better than Elder because she's a 1-card play. And mid to late game, a lot of your resources are already in the banish zone. So it was something I considered. I was like, dude, I want to play 3 Win so bad. But at the same time, it was like sometimes you'll open up with Win when you don't need her. Like open up with the hand where you don't have a way to actually load your banish hand. And then there's sometimes where it's like you open with Win and Gold Sark and it's like, oh man, I wish I'd play Win more. But bottom line, ultimately it just came down to we're playing 2 Win. And it works out really good. But there's just like those certain scenarios where I told you it's like you really wish sometimes that you had it at 3. But I feel that 2 is kind of like a correct ratio. Now I also play 2 Lara. This is something that is really interesting to me. Like a lot of Ritual Beast players would say this is a card you definitely want to play at 1, but I find her similar to Win is one of the greatest top decks you can provide for this deck. Although most of your resources are in the banish zone, there's always that play where you provide your ambush, where you pull off your ambush and your steeds in tandem to each other, providing the chain links that you need. So basically you're going to activate steeds and then chain ambush on resolution and you just blow everything up. But then some of those monsters will go to the graveyard because I might want to, do a rank 4 play, for example. So a lot of your monsters will go to the graveyard because of that. So Laura comes in handy because she's a great normal summon. For the most part, once the engine gets rolling, you don't really do too much normal summoning. It's a lot of it's just going to be tagging out and bringing the same names on your opponent's turn. And then utilizing those names once again to tag out into another fusion. And then, special summon them once and then go into different names. It's just really cool. But ultimately, it came down to 2 Laura was a correct ratio for me. For my particular playstyle, I really do like strong top decks because this deck doesn't have a lot of draw power. And I chose not to play Pot of Desires in this build. So what you have is what you get. Like literally whatever you open up with, that's what you have to work with. So sometimes you're like running low on resource and it's like there's really good cards that you can draw. And I like playing multiples of those good top decks. So I like Laura a lot. And then we also play basically a 3rd Laura, but just with a different name. Zafram Pilika. I do like her little skirt. Her skirt is cute. It looks like it's made out of like grass or leaves or something, but she has a cute skirt. And then Zafram Pilika is like basically a 3rd Laura. She's great artwork actually. This is Zefram Pilika is Pilika, she's actually Pilika the Gusto monster, and she's riding Rampengu. So like Zeph from Pilika is a combination of their names, Rampengu and Pilika herself. It's really cool. She literally does the same thing as Laura, normal summon. She can special summon a ritual beast monster from your grave, and she has like a pendulum scale effect that just doesn't even matter. You never play it in scale. You just play it for names. It's really, really good to have different names because each name, no matter what monster it is, they all have this one restriction which comes with each ritual beast monster, spiritual or tamer. They can only be special summoned once per turn, which is very important to pay attention to because you can misplay with this deck when you have so much going on and you'll forget that you special summon this monster once per turn already. You already special summoned this turn. So it's very important to have different names and just pay attention to what's going on. Like I said, it's a skillful deck. So these are the tamers. Now, what do they tame? So we're going to go ahead and show you. So I'm playing 3 copies of Spiritual Beast Kanahawk. So Kanahawk, his best friend is Elder. Elder's original best friend, because this guy used to be Gusto Kamui. His best friend actually is Falco originally, but Falco became a shut-off. Really sad story. But his new best friend is Kanahawk. They combine together in synchronization and reach full power and become Ulti Kanahawk. So we play 3 Kanahawk. He's like the gold Sark of the deck. You don't really use the effect to add it back to hand. Once you put it in the Banish Zone, you're going to use it right away when you contact Fuse. So Kanahawk is like honestly the best spiritual beast in my opinion. We also played 2 copies of Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda. She actually, there's a ruling where she's treated as both. So she's the most versatile card in this deck. I have 3 of her, and I actually had played 3 in my other build, but when I cut out the Ritual Beast, when I cut out the Zoo engine, I found that like I really didn't need the 3rd, because you don't want to draw multiples of her, and at the same time, she's more of like an in-between and a mid to late game play where you'll use her float ability. And for the most part, what I use her for a lot is just to be the missing piece that I need. For example, if I open up with Elder and her, it's the same thing as opening up with Elder and a Spiritual Beast. So she's really, really versatile. And when she floats, it's from the deck or extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions, so you can bring out anything you want. For the most part, I'll normally use her like in grind games to bring out Ulti Pedalfin, just because. And then like you can still tag out, which is pretty insane. So it just like depends what you get. I really, really like it a lot. So 2 copies of Tamer Winda. And then this next obligatory 3 of that you have to play, but it's not as good as Kanahawk, but it's still good, is 3 Spiritual Beast Rampengu. Rampengu is the next best thing if you don't open up with Kanahawk, because he loads your Banish Zone, and at the same time he loads your graveyard, which depending on the cards you have in hand, for example, if you have an ambush, it could actually be very, very good for you, and at the same time it could be detrimental, because he does make you sack something from your extra deck. So if you're not playing the right ratios of certain cards, then you won't actually ever be able to get that card back, because Kanahawk returns to the graveyard, but it doesn't put it back in the extra deck. So you have to be careful with that sometimes. We still play 3 copies of Rampengu because he's a very, very good card. And basically Rampengu or Kanahawk are going to be your engine starters if you don't top deck a gold Sark, which does happen a lot because you have 3 gold Sarks because of the ban list. And next up, we play 2 copies of Spiritual Beast Apelio. He's solely like an extender in my opinion. He does have a very, very clutch effect. It's nice to give all your beasts 500 attack and defense boost, and it's not a hard once per turn. So if you have multiple Apelios, you can do both their effects. It's just something that, could come up depending on how you play your deck. But ultimately, he's here solely as a extender, like I said, because he actually banishes a Spiritual Beast card from your graveyard to activate his effect, which when you're playing with your Kanahawk, that's very important because you need a lot of cards banished if you want to do the Kanahawk loop and search as much as you want. You have to keep providing yourself with banished Spiritual Beast monsters, and you have to put different names, which is most importantly because you want to special summon those, chaining in resolution to Kanahawk's effect, because you can use both his effects and chain one to the other, and it's really, really cool the way you just do the Kanahawk. He's at 1 for a reason, but Ulti Apelio is solely an extender, and sometimes it comes up where it's like, you know what, you need to put your Ulti Pedalfin at 3,300 defense so that nothing can attack over it. Masterpiece, can't pop it, and, basically the only thing that would need to get over it at that point would have to be Apocalypse. Because it's like, it can't be destroyed, and, you really can't attack over it. So it's like, this deck has its days where it's like really, really strong. I like it. It's like a semi-competitive, in my opinion, it's like a tier 2 deck. And then 1 baby Pedalfin. Pedalfin is actually really, really nice because it can get over cards that can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. I like it. It's an extender similar to the Apelio. And also, it's really, really, it's one of the best names to dump from your deck to your grave with your Rampengu, because it's not a mandatory card. It's just, you have to play it for the name. And also, it's just like free fodder. It really is. Like, for the most part, every time I'm using this card, it's for free fodder. And when you resolve its effect, for the most part, it's going to be like when you're going second, or when you're in a scenario where it's like you can push for game and there's certain cards in your way. Like, a great example would be BLs. BLs can't be destroyed. You just use his effect to bounce the BLs, get it out your way, and continue pushing. Because this deck can get over anything that can be targeted and destroyed, or anything that just can be destroyed, because Steeds doesn't target. So the problem is, if a monster can't be destroyed, then you would use Pedalfin to get over it. So this deck has its days where, you know, it's really, really good. Like I said, that actually sums up the monster count. So yeah, Pedalfin is really, really good. So I look at Pedalfin and Apelio actually as extenders, because you can only resolve Kanahawk. Like, if you have one Kanahawk, you're really only going to resolve it probably twice, because you're going to normally use it, and then special when you tag out and use it. And then at that point, you want to use it to banish cards like these, and then special summon these and use their effect and keep loading your banish zone. It's really, really nice. So I like these three. They're kind of like MVPs, and you do not want to maximize on the 3 Apelios, because opening up with it, it's not going to be great. It's really not. It's like more when you're already got your engine rolling and you kind of like have already got everything running and consistently providing resources for yourself. This is a great extender, and he's also a great protection play. Really, really nice. And this happens to have a 2,000 booty, which, you know, it can come up because Apelio can put it at 2,500, which is just nice to have. So that sums up the monster count. And moving forward to the spells, we are playing 3 Gold Sarcophagus. This is the best spell in this deck, because it does what the deck really, really needs to be done, basically. You need cards banished all the time. Your largest pool of resources is actually your banish zone. Your graveyard is just a secondary outlet that you have access to with your Laura and Zephyr Pilica, but ultimately this deck's main goal is to banish cards, because that's how it works. Its basic mechanics solely depends on returning banished cards and special summoning banished monsters, which is really, really nice. So Gold Sark is a great complement to this deck's playstyle. It's one of the best cards to draw, and it happens to not be once per turn, so you want to maximize on this card, because opening multiples is actually grand. It's really, really good. It gets you so far ahead in your game state, and depending on what you have, this can actually be a really, really strong card. Like, if you have everything you need except for that one, like that Tamer window, you play this banished Tamer window and then summon her. And because Steeds actually has an effect that says you can destroy monsters on the field up to that number, you can actually basically, like, if you have certain monsters that you want popped, you can use Steeds to clear your extra monster zone. And then when your opponent destroys your window, you can use window to summon another monster from your extra deck to that extra monster zone that you had occupied. So that's another thing that comes up. Like, sometimes I'll actually use that combo where I'll use Gold Sark my window, and I want to use her effect to get something else. And it's like, sometimes you have so much going on with your monsters, you don't have the room to tag out because you resolve the beast ambush combo. And then, like, there's other situations where it's like your opponent breakthrough skills you or forbidden chalices you, and it's like, dang, you know, you can't use this effect to tag out. So you'll use your Steeds to pop your own extra monster in addition to the monsters your opponent controls that you destroy. And then you'll use the window effect when they destroy it to summon from your extra deck and bring out another fusion and tag out that way if you're able to. So it's just like weird scenarios where, like, Gold Sark is really, really clutch. It just comes up so much. It's such a great card. In my previous build, it wasn't enough room for this because of the Zoo engine, but now there is. In tandem with this, we played 2 copies of My Body as a shield and 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice. I felt it was very, very important to main deck my Masterpiece out in this deck, because this happens to be one of the decks that I play competitively. I really, really like Ritual Beast a lot, and I find these to be great main deck staples. They could be other combo pieces or even recovery plays, actually extenders. It could be like Raigeki Dark Hole, and then like also perhaps a Soul Charge, which could actually come up. It really could. But I chose these because they're detrimental to Masterpiece, and simultaneously they're actually cards that protect you from your opponent, which is pretty nice. Like, there's always that random, like, there's an artifact, there's a Vanity's Fiend, there's a Trickstar Licorice trying to burn you, you just chalice it. Or even like Masterpiece is in your way, you chalice the Masterpiece, his effects are negated, now you can destroy him with anything. And there's always that scenario when Masterpiece tries to pop your actual monster and you're like, no, My Body. Which is really, really strong. I've actually considered main decking these spells in quite a few of my decks, but this happens to be a deck that has so much space that you can afford to play these for, and it's not like you're not playing cards that are already important to you. I already play every single important card for the Ritual Beast engine, so I had a lot of space, and I chose that these would be great staples for this deck's playstyle. This deck is like really, really reactive, and I find it to be more of a skill-based deck like I explained to you guys. So I wanted to have extreme control, and at the same time I wanted it to be combo heavy and be fast paced. I don't want it to be a set 5 pass kind of deck, which is what Ritual Beast used to be back in the day when you played such a low monster count and a lot of traps to protect your monsters. I want it to be able to go off, and with the new support that we have, we're actually able to go off a lot more than in the past. So 2 Ritual Beast returns. There's a story behind the artwork on this card. We're not going to go over that today, but this is also another great extender. Sometimes when I resolve my Kanahawk, I find myself searching this to simply put another banished name and also bring out another monster and use its effect, for example, a Paleo, and then use a Paleo, banish this, and now you have Ritual Beast cards in your banish zone to return for your Kanahawk, and you can chain it targeting other monsters and then summon those. Oh, whoops. My flash had cut off on you guys. I'm sorry. A 2 Ritual Beast return and 1 Ritual Beast bond. These are like your searchable Ritual Beast spells. Bond is actually comes up a lot in the battle phase, and also there are certain times when like you have Kanahawk and your opponent, you have Kanahawk and then you have the other names that you need to meet for your ulti Paleo, and your opponent like plays something like something crazy, like your opponent has a crazy play, and then you can see a combo coming, like you can see something big coming. For example, like your opponent's getting ready to like Pendulum Summon, or like they just search for their they use their outer and search for invocation. So like instead of tagging out with ulti Kanahawk, you'll just activate Bond and then banish those. You'll banish those and then summon something like your ulti Paleo or your Pedalfin, and just like it's just something like it seems really weird, but this card can be really sacky, and it can basically like it can even chain to a Paleozoic place. And then there's also that scenario where it's like in the battle phase you need to push for a lot of damage. And then there's also those times where it's like Kanahawk is in trouble, and it's like your opponent's getting ready to kill Kanahawk, and you can just chain this, banishing the Kanahawk and something else, and just like summon a completely different ulti Ritual Beast. So yeah, it's just something that is really sacky, and it comes up a lot, but it's not worth playing at 2 ultimately. There was a ruling, which I used to play this card wrong, but there was a ruling. It ultimately came down to when this card summons ulti Paleo, you still cannot use his effect to negate anything. And I actually used to use this card that way, and then a judge corrected me and was like, "Nah, dude, you're cheating." And I was like, "Dang, that kind of sucks." And then basically the way it's in his text, and I'll never really notice that, but ulti Paleo has to be summoned the right way if you want to use his Herald of Perfection effect. So this is just basically another extender, and it also is like an ulti K push. It can be a recovery play, and it can be just something to just chain if your opponent like negates your own Ritual Beast effect to tag out somehow, some way. Like if your opponent strikes you, then you lose your Ritual Beast completely. Like if you activate this effect to tag out and your opponent strikes you, you can still activate this and then Ritual fuse for another monster anyway. So I really like it. It comes up a lot. Like I said, Emergency Teleport. This is like one of the best combo pieces in the deck. I really love opening up with it. You have to play an Ultimate Rare or you'll never draw it. And then 1-dimensional Fizzer to sum up the spells. Defy is just like one of those cards that this deck can play comfortably, and it like helps you and hinders your opponent at the same time. Like this is one of the trolliest one-ups ever. I really like it. And I love how Ritual Beast can play cards like that and get away with it. For Chaps, we played 3 copies of Solemn Strike. We played 3 Ritual Beast Steeds. This comes up a lot. It really helps you to just, if your opponent is like feeling really trolly and they want to like spam a bunch of boss monsters that would really be harmful for you, you just Steeds all of them. And then you have 3 copies of Ambush. Ambush is so great even without Steeds. Ambush provides my rank 4 plays, and it also just can help me to recover if my opponent board wipes me. I can chain this or just activate this on end phase and get a free field presence. And 1 Torrential Tribute. Because the Ritual Beast tagged out on basically as cost on resolution, you can board wipe your opponent with Torrential Tribute, and then you'll still bring out the 2 monsters that you get from tagging out. It's a completely legal ruling. It's cool. And then 1 Macrocosmos. This is just another sacky one of like Dimensional Fissure that helps you because you need cards banished, but it hurts everybody. So that sums up the main deck. If I'm not mistaken, it's actually 41 cards. And the extra deck is 2 Ulti Gaia Peleos. I like to use my Ritual Beast Kanahawk, my Ulti Kanahawk, a lot when I'm getting ready to make him because I want to search a bunch of cards. It's similar to Herald of Perfection, adding fairies from deck to hand. You just search random Ritual Beast cards that you can spare when you're getting ready to make him, but this is ultimately your trump card. This is like Kanahawk and Steeds didn't work out, Gaia Paleo pushing for damage didn't work out. It's like, it's time to make this card. You play 2 at the offset chance that something happens to the first, and also that's that scenario where you have to use Rampengu to banish him and then dump one of your Ritual Beast Tamers, which helps you out a lot. So yeah, that's why you play 2, never 3. and then 3 Ulti Gaiapelios. Ulti Apelios, the baby version. This card comes up a lot. It's a really, really strong card. It's very, very versatile. And it basically, when it attacks, it's invincible. Just for that, just provided for, I believe it's until the end of the damage step. Yeah, so it's like similar to a Star Eater. It's unaffected by everything, including Apelio's effect. So you can't attack for 3100 using his effect. You just can't. 3 Ulti Pedalfins. You don't make 3, but you dump this a lot with your Rampengu. And it's just like free name that you can abuse. So like you'll banish this and then dump your baby Pedalfin. And you'll still have 2 because you make 2 a lot, but you like never really make 3. But you definitely do make 2 of this card. This is like a Saki card that you use. There's a couple combos where you actually use this card a lot. It's really, really cool. And it's one of the best ways to injure combos because you want to save Ulti Kanhak as much as possible. You don't want to ever leave him on the field. So you want to tag out for this card because Ulti Apelio does nothing on your opponent's turn. This is a card you want to sit on. If you feel it's in trouble, you tag out and use your steeds in combination. And then 1 Ulti Kanhak, the ban list, he did him dirty a while back. But maybe we'll get 3 Ulti Kanhaks in the future. The Utopia Lightning Package, Chidori, Dweller, Kergorgon for Masterpiece, because even if he's unaffected by monsters, you can still redirect his pop to a Diagram or their back rows. And then Tornado Dragon for the Pendulum matchup and for the Paleozoic matchup. This deck doesn't really have like a bad matchup. It's just like, it's not the best deck in the world, but I do love it a lot. And I feel that this is something you guys could try out yourself and just see how it works for you. But I wanted to go in depth on it, and I pretty much covered and touched bases with everything that I felt was necessary for you to know. Thank you so much for watching the deck profile. God bless y'all. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells, and y'all be safe.